Welcome to Los Angeles, and today we're going to look at the many faces of Love Quinn from the Netflix series You, and ask the question, is she an evil person? A kind, intelligent, and bubbly woman that camouflages a cunning, manipulative, and obsessive personality. A mirror image of her obsession, Joe Goldberg. We're going to look at the crimes she commits in the pursuit of her goals, where it likely started, and what disorders she could be concealing. Most importantly, is she the victim or the victimizer? We're only going to cover Love as she appears in the show as, once again, the characters in the novels and show are completely different. In fact, Love isn't even a villain in the books, just another of Joe's obsessions. Also, I am not a mental health professional. These are just my opinions based on extensive research. With that out of the way, on with the show. Love was born in 1991 with her twin brother, 40, into the rich and powerful Quinn family that started a chain of stores called Anavrin that specialized in grocery, books, and bakeries. Before Anavrin was created, the twins were often left alone while the parents traveled. But once Anavrin was established, the parents were gone for extended periods of time. Because of this, 40 and Love were close to an unhealthy degree, but their parents were either not aware of this or just didn't care. When the twins were 12, the parents decided to hire an au pair for the two, as now they were always away, so they hired the woman, Sophia. It wouldn't be long before Sophia would begin to sexually assault 40, drugging him, causing him to pass out. Then she would assault him. It's unclear how long this had been going on, but one day while the two were outside, Sophia had drugged 40 again, but this time Love took a knife and slit her throat. 40 was unconscious, so Love pinned the murder on him, figuring that their parents would make it all go away. Being wealthy, they were able to make it seem like Sophia committed suicide. Already, she's demonstrating a high level of intelligence, cunning, and manipulation at just the age of 12. But what's odd is how quickly she resorted to murder. Sure, Sophia deserved punishment for the assault of a young boy, but murder? I mean, yeah, it was a he said, she said kind of situation, but if the Quinn family was able to have lawyers who spun this as a suicide, surely they had enough good lawyers to convict Sophia of sexual assault. Hell, this could even be looked at as self-defense or the defense of others. Also, why would she automatically pin the murder on him? Why not just say she killed herself when the parents came back? What I'm saying is that there's a lot more options besides murder, and the way it was handled was going to leave 40 with a lifetime of issues. After the events, Love would devote herself to protecting 40 in every aspect of his life, especially when he started delving into the world of drugs, alcohol, and sex. She would monitor his behavior, bail him out, clean up after him, and do what she could to prevent him from using. Although I think it's most likely that she was keeping him in an endless loop of addiction, recovery, and relapse. From what we have so far, we can likely assume that she has a form of attachment disorder, borderline personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. I've already covered antisocial personality disorder in depth in my video about Joe Goldberg, so feel free to check that video out now if you want more information. While it seems she may have some symptoms of ASPD, she does show some emotional recognition, and her violence, often associated with ASPD, is likely poor impulse control or emotional dysregulation. When it comes to her relationships, it's likely she has a disorganized attachment disorder coming from emotionally distant parents and issues with caregivers like Sophia. This led her to crave intimacy while also being afraid of it, and uses extreme measures to keep her relationships close, like seduction and violence. However, violence was only used in the more extreme circumstances. Much like Joe, she sees Love as something that must be controlled, possessed, and, on some occasions, punished. Borderline personality disorder is often characterized by emotional instability, which she demonstrates when she kills or lashes out, unstable relationships brought on by the fear of abandonment, impulsive behaviors, again demonstrated when she kills, and an unstable sense of identity, which she shows when her identity is wrapped up in having people need her, and if they don't need her or leave her, then she is lost. The final symptom of BPD is suicidal ideation, but I don't think she shows any of this, so we're going to skip it. Later in life, she attends culinary school, and while there, she meets and falls in love with a deaf man named James Kennedy. The two would marry, and not long after, he would be diagnosed with cancer. Without 40 around, she needed someone to need her, and so, being a deaf man and now with cancer, made James the perfect partner until he realized her obsessive and possessive nature, and told her he wanted a divorce when his cancer was in remission. Unable to cope with this, she poisons him with a paralytic called aconite, or wolfsbane. Her excuse was that she just wanted him to stay so that she could explain herself and her behaviors, but unfortunately she used too much, and it ultimately ended his life. With her husband now dead, she had no choice but to return home to try and start over. The moment Love meets Joe at her grocery store, she begins an unhealthy obsession with him. But whether or not she was stalking him before they officially met, like Joe had with her, is unclear. There is a bit of a push and pull, on-again, off-again relationship between the two, but Joe's obsessive personality and Love's manipulation of him keeps them coming back to each other. This shows her ability to read and understand people. She isn't talking with Joe for a few minutes when she realizes he is somewhat of a kindred spirit, who had experienced love and loss and was, in a way, just as broken as she was. This may be a sign of projecting, but she was right in the end, so I guess it doesn't matter. While she relies on her cunning and manipulation to a degree, it ramps up to 11 when Candace, Joe's ex-girlfriend before Beck, comes into the picture, trying to derail their budding relationship. From there, she uses expert PIs to dig into Joe's past, going all the way back to New York City, Beck, and Joe's violent nature. Also, she deduces that it was him that killed Beck, but instead of recoiling in terror, she embraces what she learns, saying that she can fix him, and Beck wasn't right for him anyways. Not only does she go about manipulating Joe to bring them closer together, she also works to dispatch those that could get in their way by killing Candace and Delilah. After she admits to killing Candace and Delilah, she no longer lives up to his fantasy, so Joe decides to kill her. But after admitting that she is pregnant with his child, he lets her live. The two begin an uneasy cohabitation for the sake of their child, though Joe is no longer in love with her. But Love believes she can fix him, and that he'll learn to love her. Unbeknownst to her, Joe's obsessive nature can't be quelled, and as soon as they move into the suburbs, he begins obsessing over their neighbor, Natalie. Before this, 40 was unfortunately killed by a rogue cop who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. But Love doesn't seem as affected as she should be. She placed herself as his personal savior, but my guess is now that she has two people that need her indefinitely, her baby and Joe, she no longer needs 40. What do you think? At this time, Love's body count is about 4, and in my opinion, none of them seem outright malicious save for the au pair, and are similar to Joe's motivations. The difference is that Joe kills when the objects of his obsessions don't live up to the fantasy he builds for them, whereas Love's killing seems more like a byproduct of her inability to regulate her emotions and poor impulse control. Both of them have killed for, in their minds, the right reasons, and Love takes this into Season 3 as she kills in order to protect her family, starting with Natalie. She underestimated Joe's obsessive nature, and soon after moving into their house together, he begins stalking her. In an attempt to keep her family together, she kills Natalie with an axe to the head. This kill showcases her impulsive behavior, emotional instability, and ASPD, as she does not feel a hint of remorse for what she did. Though she knew killing her was wrong, she just blames it on Joe. If he wasn't stalking her, she wouldn't have had to kill her. This is sort of true. If Joe hadn't continued another stalking cycle, she wouldn't have felt the need to kill her. And the worst part is, Joe knew what Love was capable of. This in no way absolves Love of her crimes, but their destructive dynamic is what keeps them in this endless loop of obsession and killing. Her final victim is a bit of a tough one because technically she didn't kill him, but her anger at her neighbor Gil once again put them into a situation where it was kill or be exposed. Though he ends up taking his own life, he wouldn't be in that situation if Love hadn't attacked him. Yes, we can understand her motivations, but all her victims, except for Sophia, were innocent, guilty of nothing but getting caught up in Joe and Love's freight train of emotional neediness, obsession, and dysfunction. Love proclaims that she and Joe are soulmates, that the two are perfect for each other, but I don't believe that. For people like Joe and Love, where obsession, stalking, and emotional instability are the core of who they are, it's impossible for them to find the one. Because it's not about finding the one, it's about falling in love with the idea of falling in love. And for Love, it's the idea of being wanted and needed. 40 needed her, her first husband needed her, Joe and her child needed her, even the young and stupid Theo from next door needed her and made her feel wanted. And if they didn't, she would make sure they did, through careful cunning and manipulation. In the end, she figures out that Joe is stalking another woman named Marianne, and she commits to killing her like she did Natalie. But in a rare moment of clarity, she realizes that she is about to take the life of an innocent woman and leave a child motherless. She lets them go and comes to the conclusion that Joe is the reason she has become what she has become. A killer who had done horrible things all for the sake of a man that could never really love her. There is some truth in this, but if it wasn't Joe, it would have been someone else. She killed the au pair for 40, so was that 40's fault? She killed her first husband, was that his fault? Ultimately, Joe gets the upper hand over her, leaving her dying in the center of their home, and Joe, in his mind, the hero of this story, and Love as the dastardly villain. This is the true tragedy of Love Quinn. Because with Joe alive, he has taken control of the narrative, leaving himself the victim of Love's insanity, who had no choice but to abandon his son and go into hiding. Thankfully, Joe's evil is finally stopped years later, and Love gets the peace she deserves. After all this, can we conclude that Love is an evil woman? I think a better question is, did she ever had a chance at a normal life? No. Given what we've seen with her family and her lack of guidance, love, and affection, and combine that with borderline personality disorder, attachment disorder, and ASPD, Love Quinn was merely a time bomb waiting to explode. If she had gotten proper therapy earlier in her life, she may have had a chance, but that wasn't the case. We catch small glimpses of the real Love, the quirky, bubbly, and kind person that she truly is, but it's all overshadowed by layers of mistrust, abandonment, and loneliness that cause her to manipulate, justify, and possess whatever it is she wants, smothering her by the most tragic kind of evil.